It's time to figure it out. All of you have just completed Speech Battle 1. Notice I am still immaculate in all white. There is no bloodstains. Perfect, flawless victory. A lot of you may have had some fear in battle. Don't you worry. You finished it. Congratulations. While most people might have a fear of public speaking their entire lives, you decided that you're going to put an end to it. And that's what's most important. The music is going to be the same volume. It's a matter of, can I speak loud enough so that you can hear me anyway? Can you speak loud enough? Our second speech battle is coming up shortly. We must make sure that you are prepared. Daredevil Billy Clubs. All right.
Gotta have fun. Gotta be prepared. I was really hoping that someone would step up and be the speech battle commander. We could have had a lot of fun making this background for all of us. But it's okay. We might have been a little shy, but it's time to break out of it for next time. Because it's epic if you can be the commander. We'll play battle music and you will be able to give us a speech like this. Okay.
Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. It's great to see all of you. Alliterations. I really love it. And I will show you how much I love it. I actually have a memory from, where is it? Okay. The Mulanje Mountain in Malawi, 2019. With this stick, I was able to climb Mount Mulanje in Malawi, and as a keepsake, my boy was able to break it up into 3 billy clubs for me, so I could take it home as a nice keepsake memory. This is what I did there. 4 M's: memory, Mulanje Mountain, Malawi. Okay, so that's the exact reason why I got these sticks. Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of fun myself. It seemed a lot of you had a lot of fun in your videos, and that's the perfect reason why we want to do this, okay? Now, this is a golden coin. I'd like all of you to be able to have 100 pennies, okay? And put those 100 pennies into a little box, into a piggy bank, wherever you like to put it. And the reason behind that is because as you start to say filler words, so likes, you know, habits that you might have for no reason as you keep doing, that could be distraction. I like you to put those pennies away. And those pennies normally are made for us to have a party at the end of class, but perhaps we'll meet all one day and we can have our own actual physical party. But for now, put them away because I want you to see how all those little pennies start to add up during the course of the semester. Okay, so that's all I'll say for that moment. And let's start unveiling some of the topics that we want to show. Behind this, everybody, is a treasure. You might be thinking millions of dollars, horses and carriages, or diamonds, but it is knowledge. All right, I had a lot of fun making that preparation here. So here's the good news. Here's the really exciting news for all of you. We are going to start, now that it's October, having more of a regimen for all of us to follow. Okay, so here we go. Tuesdays and Fridays. I chose Tuesdays and Fridays instead of the Monday, Thursdays. Tuesday and Fridays will be the day in which stuff is going to be due for us. And today is Sunday. This Tuesday might be a little bit early, so if you have missed some stuff in, make sure you finish it by Tuesday, but Friday will be where your new exercises and all that good stuff will be done. And we're moving toward our second speech battle already. 13 minutes. Here's the metaphor I have for all of you in regards to 13 minutes. Now, notice how when I finish something, I'm going to erase it because I no longer need it there. Anything in your background should be non-distractive and have only what you need to enhance your message rather to have it detract from it. So 13 minutes a day. I want you to imagine that your goal is to work out for 13 minutes a day. Feasible, definitely doable. But what if after 10 days, you haven't done anything. Is it possible for you then to do 130 minutes of workouts all at once? That might become quite problematic. You see, 13 push-ups a day is definitely doable, but 130, especially if you haven't done any of the first 9, is going to be really, really, really difficult. And even if you were capable of doing that, the question is, do you really want to? Because what's going to happen to you on the 14th day? On the 14th day, you're going to feel really tired, really sore, and it's not going to help you out. Just like your biceps or your triceps are muscles that you need to train, the same as your mind and your mouth to do public speaking, along with your heart to find a purpose. From now on, we're going to be practicing 13 minutes a day to make sure that you can get the public speaking, confident results that you like to have. And the good news is we already have that all prepared for you with the Speak at Your Prime official class workbook. Now, this is a class workbook from previous semesters, but now we have a brand new one prepared for all of you, and it was exactly the logo that you saw before. In this workbook for you, we have the training exercises that all of you will get a chance to do, practice all the outlines and all the cool stuff that we'll be talking about to make sure that you can get the results that you want. A lot of you have given me kind words about my ability to speak, and I can say that following this program, you will be able to say the same about yourself. Okay, so why 13 minutes a day? Well, it's quite simple. There are letters A through Z, 26 letters. I'm just asking you to practice each letter for half a minute. And that's how 13 minutes came about. If you can practice diligently speaking for 13 minutes, I guarantee you, you can cut off 13 years of your trajectory of what it might take to work yourself up the rat race to rapidly accelerate to where you want to be. Okay, speech is critical, and you're starting to see that as our semester continues to go on. A lot of you might also be thinking about the purpose of rhymes and alliterations. We're going to get to that. As a precursor, I would say this. Look, every single word that I'm saying right now, every single word that you say or anyone has ever said in the English language has to be a letter either A, B through Z. So essentially, if you know your A, B, C through Z letters really, really well, you have the best chance to be able to pick from an infinite amount of words to be able to select the exact one that you want. And every single word that I'm saying now comes from a specific sound. So if you are able to pick those sounds correctly, well, that's your alliteration. And that allows you to be more harmonious, more melodious, more musical in the words that you choose. Now we're going to get into greater detail with that. But now, as you see, I have eliminated more information. Okay, everyone, as you can see over here, as I'm making this talk, everything, and I mean everything, is keywords, bullet points, and symbols only. Okay, I'm doing this entire talk right now just from keywords, bullet points, and symbols only. I don't want to write all this out. In fact, did the video go exactly the way I wanted? Yeah, sure. I wanted to have fun in the moment and not know exactly what was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. But it wouldn't have been great if I memorized it and prepared it. I knew all my weapons with the bow staff. It wouldn't have been as fun. So keywords, bullet points, symbols only. Now, speak at your prime. I need to get a red pen that is bolder and better and brighter, triple alliteration by the way, so I could really highlight the prime part over here. But if you can see there's an infinity symbol before prime, after the prime, it's really a simple reason. I like to be able to just take a moment and stand still and tell you all about it really quickly. You see, when you think about prime, there's a perfect time that starts and ends normally with that word. For example, let's take an athlete for instance. An athlete's prime, if they're a basketball player, might be from 18 years old until they're about 35. Beyond that, they're no longer in their prime and they're not as good anymore, right? If you take a gymnast, for example, well, their prime is actually even shorter. It might start at age 13 when they can make the Olympic team, but then by the time they hit maybe 18 or 20, their bodies are now too large that it's really difficult to flip through the air aerodynamically, right? The prime time for you to develop your public speaking is actually right now. It's already been for the past month, because whenever will you have a course specifically devoted to helping your speaking skills and applying it to everything else in your life? I don't know, but now is as good of a time as ever. And the reason that the infinity sign is on prime is because if you develop these skills now, you have it for infinity, for your life to the very end, and everyone else's beyond. I'll give you an example. Well, let's see. Right now in college, if you do better in speaking, sure, you are able to get better grade in this class and also in all your other classes. Class participation, group projects, talking to your professor, working details out, making the right connections with your friends. As you move on, you could actually do better on interviews, get promoted, have a better job, do better negotiations when you want to buy a car, buy a house, all that sort of stuff. But even when you become like 80 years old, you know what? You can still speak at your prime. Because at that point, you might be a grandparent, grandfather or grandmother, and think about the little kid that's your grandchild. Think about all the lessons that you had in your life and how you can impact them through your speech. And that impact that you make on that little grandchild grows up and one day becomes a grandparent themselves. And that cycle of your story, of your life, of your impact, essentially is prime infinite, all through your words. My grandmother is the main source of motivation as to how I got into public speaking. You see, I was fortunate enough that my grandmother and I spoke the same language, Taiwanese, and I could see how close that I was able to get with her because I was able to articulate the same native tongue as her. And now I continue to do public speaking as a memory for her. And so in many ways, my grandma was the best public speaker. At the age of 93, 94, until she passed away, she could speak, right? She knew how to make me feel better. She always gave me words of wisdom. And even though she's passed away from this world right now, she still lives on through me, infinite. And I'm trying my best to be able to pass it on to you so that you can continue to have the relationship that you want with your loved ones through your speech. Okay, so that's a little bit of the speak at your prime element there that I wanted to share with you. All right, so we are getting toward the end of the board already, right? Time has flown by. 33% of the semester is coming to a close really quick. It just went by. But now it's important to talk about the 100 senators, okay? I mentioned this really, really briefly in one of the videos previously. And essentially, I want to tell you this. If you are a senator, you have a great chance of becoming the president, right? Senators are really high up there in terms of our government hierarchy. But if there was a Senate meeting and all 100 senators attended, and you, yes, you are one of them, you are one of them, you have 1 minute to speak, but you have 99 minutes to listen. I really want you to think about that for a moment. As much as we as speakers have a fear of public speaking, we want to focus on our minute to make it the best as possible. But what happens if we're so focused on our minute that we forgot to pay attention to everyone else while they're speaking? Well, that happens a lot, right? We tune some people out, not because we don't care, but because we care so much about what we want to say that we miss out on their words. The best speaking senator will be the one that is also the best listener. Listening to the other 99 speakers for those 99 minutes, they now see the differences and similarities between their own ideas, and they can come up with a better idea because of it. This is the same concept that I like you to think about in our class. In our class, all of you had a chance to do an introduction speech, but that means everyone else in your class, the other 20 people, had a chance to do one as well. You're going to get a lot better as a speaker by observing and evaluating the other people in your class to then understand what you can do to make yours more unique. And so as you continue in this class and moving forward for the rest of your life, know that as important as it is for you to speak well, the reason you can speak well is because you listen to the other people. Okay, so please pay attention to that, because otherwise everyone's going to be saying the same thing. Look, you have that job opportunity through that interview. You're not the only one. There's been tons of people, and you have to know what other people are going to say so you don't say the same thing and end up with a cliche. And you're not taken for plagiarism or being a copycat. You have to be aware of what other people are saying so that you can say something different and more impactful. So please, please, please make sure you're listening and make sure that you are doing those evaluations for your classmates. Okay. Extended conversation. Now I'm really excited here because I got these cool magnets on this magnetic board. So I want to show you the concept of how extemporaneous speaking that we've discussed before, where you speak with keywords, bullet points, and symbols only, right? You're not memorized where everything has to be line by line, word for word, but you're also not impromptu where you have no idea where you're going. Okay, so here you are, and you're having a conversation with your friend. That's not public speaking to many of your minds because it's not a whole public. Then your other friend decides to come along and you still don't think it's really public speaking, right? You're just with your group of friends. A lot of you oftentimes say, you know, I don't have a fear of public speaking. You know, I'm actually really outgoing. Like when I'm with my friends, like I can't like just stop talking. So there you go. When you're with your friends, you can't stop talking. You're such a big person that everyone listens to you. But what happens then is perhaps at some point, there are just too many people that you have to actually start delegating rules. Let's not have everyone talk at the same time because then we won't understand or hear anybody, right? That's a simple concept here. Try watching 3 YouTube videos at the same time with the audio on. It's incomprehensible at that point. So at some point, you went from you're perfectly comfortable talking to somebody to now you're uncomfortable and now you have this fear of public speaking. So here's my best illustration of extended conversations so that you don't have to be afraid of speech anymore, okay? Obviously, as a speaker, you must be able to grab people's attention more, right? You got to be a bit more fierce and a bit more bold, and you're putting yourself out there, right? So congratulations to you. Boom, there you are. Now you're the speaker. You have to be grander because now you have to command the attention of everybody. Now, you have to believe in your heart that what you have to say is really important and is going to be a benefit for everybody. So let me give you an example. Let's say that in your neighborhood, you are going to have a horde of elephants just running by, okay? And it's an emergency that you go to each and every one of your neighbor's house to tell them that they must put out their refrigerator right now, because that's the one way that they can stop the elephant from trampling over the house, okay? Do you really want to go to everyone's house and ring the doorbell and tell them all those times? I mean, if you did that, think about how much time that would take, right? Surely by the time you tell the first 2 people, well, all the other houses would be trampled by those elephants, wouldn't they? Right? And why would you want to say the same thing all the time? Because then it gets quite boring. What you might decide to do instead is say, hey, you know what? Rather than me have to tell all of you individually 10 times, why don't all of you decide to come once together at a specific time and place so that I could deliver the message to you? Isn't that much more convenient? Now you might be thinking elephants roaming, impractical. Fine. You just had a perfect vacation, okay? Your friends are asking you, tell me about your vacation. Do you really want to tell the same story over and over and over again? By the time you tell the 3rd person, you might not be excited about your vacation anymore. So you gather everyone up and boom, that's your public service announcement, so to speak, okay? Now we talk about the channel. The channel is how are you going to talk to them? Right now, we're doing this all virtually and asynchronously, but you might have a face-to-face, right? A physical meeting. You might decide to do it over the phone. You might decide to do it through text, but every single one has a problem. You have to find out as a speaker what that problem is so you can eliminate it and have the best conversation possible. Okay, so that's an example of extended conversation. As you continue to make these speeches, virtually and in person, I want you to think that, hey, there's no difference structurally between having a nice one-on-one conversation with someone that you can laugh and be totally confident with compared to when you have to give a speech to a large group of people that you might not even know. It all grows organically through an extended conversation from one person, and then everyone else just comes together for that purpose. Okay? Now, coming toward the end. The downfall, and I don't care what your high school average was, and I don't care what your GPA will be. And I would argue that most people ultimately wouldn't care about that either in the long run, okay? The problem is people cram to get a good grade oftentimes, okay? And people cram by memorizing, okay? In high school, I may have had a 99 average, okay? But you know what? I had a 99 average because I was able to cram and memorize everything for a specific test that was given Thursday at 10 a.m. Okay? Once it was Thursday, 4 p.m., if I took the exact same test, my grade would no longer be as high as it was because I'm already starting to forget stuff and forget about it. If school was canceled on Thursday and I had to take it the next day, oh my gosh, I would not do as well. Think about how much you've crammed in your entire life. And I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. But just think about how indicative your grade was, saying that you were almost perfect at 100, but then you really weren't able to comprehend and take what you've learned afterwards. Okay, so when you try to cram and memorize speech, you're not going to develop the skill of being able to do that. And that's a really critical point that I want to get across from all of you. Okay? A lot of you may have gotten the highest grade even for Speech Battle 1, but if you crammed and memorized it, maybe you got away with it, so to speak. But what if, bam, right now you had to give another speech? Would you be ready? And that's the concept of what I mentioned here with the BRN. The BRN is your battle ready number, okay? Battle ready number is from 1 to 100. From 1 to 100, 100 being the most, how ready are you to go to battle with your fear of public speaking? Now, everyone has a fear, okay? I have a fear. We all do. And it might manifest itself in a way that we don't know. There could be a circumstance in the future that we yet can predict, but in that moment, we may have that fear and freeze up. And the only way that we can prevent that from ever happening is to try to be as prepared as possible for the entire world of unexpectation, okay? Your battle ready number, if it's 100, that means you're going in with an all white outfit and you're most likely coming back all white because you know how to slash and dice and knock down all those opponents, okay? If you're at 99, well, then you got a 1% chance that you're gonna have a little stain down. You're at an 80, well, 80's not bad, but do you really want a 20% chance that you're gonna come back from that battle injured, right? You might have a dislocated shoulder, you might have a little sprain, right? And if your battle number is anywhere lower than that, I mean, you're talking about some injuries, right? You're talking about some wears and tears in your shirt. So aim for a battle ready number of 100, okay? All right, so that's my little talk for all of this section here. And I'm actually just gonna make one entire take of the video, so it'll be as easy as possible to go through it. But this is the first take right now. And if you notice, because you're just gonna watch this entirety, if you are, I'm getting tired. Right? But I mean, just imagine what it's like. You're gonna have to give an hour presentation one day as a manager. You cannot memorize 1 hour's worth of material and reading it word for word. If you do, I promise the audience will not be able to handle it. They're gonna be tuning out, so on and so forth. So now you just gotta keep the drive and energy. There's no restart button for me now. I just have to keep going. So as a human being, I'm actually just gonna drink some water here, and then I'm gonna show you the next part. Okay. So we can erase this now. And we'll throw these over here. Let me bring this out. And voila, I'm really cool about this, right? Boom. I am prepared for all of you. Keywords, bullet points, and symbols only. So let's get to some of the fun facts. I really want you to start asking why, por qué en español, okay? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are you doing what you're doing? And the first part I want to talk about is something that you may or may not have noticed. Do you notice that I have shaved just half of my face. Well, now you do. And there's a simple reason for that that I want to tell you about. But can anyone guess why? Dramatic pause, by the way. The reason I did that is because I wanted to show what it means to do a half attitude and to do a half job. The moment I decided to shave half my face, at first, you can't tell a difference. But after a week, after 2 weeks, getting toward a month, you can really start seeing that you're half in the attitude. You're half in the work. And it really, really shows. You're all still really young right now, but if you start half in your attitude for a year, 2 or 5 years, it's gonna catch up to you and it's gonna become really, really visible. And then you're gonna have to decide to shave it all off and to start all over again. I'm sure none of you want to take a course over, none of you want to have any do-overs. You just want to be able to succeed as much as possible. But what it takes is to go straight forward with the full attitude and full commitment all the way through. Okay, so visually I wanted you to see the representation of a half attitude. All of you still have a chance to do really, really well in this class and beyond for the rest of your lives. But get the fundamentals right so visibly it's starting to be seen and you're developing a pattern that you can be proud of. Okay? Now, the fun part. As you can see on the board, I've been running with some more colors now, right? Strategic. And I also still have white, but now I have a really colorful vest that I got in Addis Ababa. Alliteration, by the way, the capital of Ethiopia. Okay? And this goes back to my first metaphor on a white canvas. You all started with a white canvas, but now it's being colored, right? It's being designed by all of you. Through every single video you do, your speech battles, your participation boards, your emails to me, I'm starting to learn more and more about you, and so is everyone else. You're starting to have a design. I'd like you to take a moment still and think about the final design that you'd like to create for yourself, right? How do you want to be remembered in this class? How do you want to be remembered when you look back at your freshman year of college, and how you want your family members or friends to remember you as, okay? When you look back 10 years from now and you think about how you were today, what do you want to be able to say? Right? What memories do you want to have? And start aiming to make that design, okay? This might have been done impromptu by the maker of it. I have no idea if they just started with one thread or not, but the final product is what I imagine to be quite beautiful. And that's why I chose this vest out of the 100 others that I saw at the store. As a speaker, what's going to make you, with your words, design a speech and a persona that's so wonderful because it comes from you, that you're going to be the person getting hired and you're going to be able to live the life that you want. Right? So really think about how you're no longer a full canvas anymore. That's fully white. But are you painting the strokes that you want to do? We all end up with an impression. How memorable that impression is debatable, but you all have a chance to make it the way that you want it to be. Okay. So again, I'm using the keywords bullet points, right? Bullet points from those dots. Now I can erase that. And let's get a little bit more to the alliterations a bit. A lot of you might be wondering, why does this guy make me have to do a triple rhyme or a dramatic pause or an alliteration? Well, I'm going to get to it a bit more over here. Let's just put it this way, okay? Number one, you do those literary devices, you're more likely to get someone's attention. And in this day and age, you need to be able to do that. You have tons of devices and sources competing for your attention that you got to try your best to be able to do that, okay? The virtual background that I have right now, the way I'm dressed, sure, I'm trying to grab your attention. At this point, since you've been watching this video, even if you have made it this far, which I don't even know, you might have gotten 30 texts and notifications. Hey, I have to try my best to grab your attention, right? And also, I have to try my best to keep your attention. And that's what the literary devices allow you to have a chance to do. Consider your favorite songs. How many of your songs have a nice rhyme to it? Keeps your attention. You want to hear the next verse. You want to fill it in for yourself. Think about all the slogans out there that have a little bit of rhyme to it, the alliterations to it, and the pauses to it. I'll give you a few examples right now, okay? Because you want to grab someone's attention, you want to keep it, and then boom, you want to have an unforgettable ending so they never forget it. Here's some PSA announcements that come to the top of my head. The police actually has a lot of it, okay? To make sure that people buckle up their seatbelts, what do they say? If you don't click it, you get a what? Ticket. Click it, ticket. Rhyme, people decide, oh yeah, I gotta put on that seatbelt. Click it, ticket, duh. Just an example of how the rhyme works over there. Here's another example, right? The police understand that they only have two eyes themselves and maybe surveillance cameras, but they still can't see everything and every nook and cranny of the corner. So what do they say? If you see something, then you what? Say something. If you see something, say something. So boom, there you go. Just some nice alliterations over there. Now imagine the difference if they said, if you view something, tell someone. I don't think that sticks or clicks into my head as well as the alliteration does. And I'm sure you can agree with that too. Other example is just simple, right? Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, got some rhyme and you got some alliteration over there. And just think about any type of show for kids. To grab a kid's attention is really hard. To keep it is even harder. But to make it so that their parents can remember what their kids are into is a whole new level. So what do? They try to come up with characters that kids can remember and it's memorable for the parents. Hence, you have Mickey Mouse, you have Tony the Tiger, you have Donald Duck, you have SpongeBob SquarePants, you have, I forgot this one, Furbius and something with Peter the Platypus. You might have that reference. I never watched that show, but I think platypuses are pretty cool. So that's my example there. Okay, that gives you an opportunity to remember and grab the attention, such as Bed Bath & Beyond. I want all of you to be able to grab that attention and to maintain it. And obviously, it takes a little bit more for you to be able to do that. Most people cannot just rhyme, alliterate on the spot. And that brings me to my next point here about the can versus the can'ts. Okay, one simple reason why I put it in there is because a lot of people think, you know what, I'm just going to speak. Look, there would be no necessity for taking a course if everyone could just do it. We want to make sure that you do it at a higher level, intellectually and also physically through your speech. Okay, as I mentioned, the sounds and the letters of the alphabet are all part of the command of the language you can have as you're speaking. And to be able to rhyme and alliterate allows you to have that ability. Also, if you notice, I'm talking at a really quick pace right now, but the ability to add in a dramatic pause is extremely critical as well to maintaining your audience and building suspense. And the winner of American Idol is... We'll be right back after the breaks. That is designed for dramatic pause, specifically to grab your attention and to keep it. Auctioneers do it once, and little piggy, $1, $1. Do I hear $2, $2, $3, $300,000 going once, going twice, $400,000, $400,000 going once, going twice. Sold for $400,000. Boom. Notice how there's a change of pace there, faster pace, building up the adrenaline, slower pace, and then finally the pause for suspense, for dramatic purposes, and then boom, there you go. So as you listen to your music, as you observe advertisements, and as you just watch your TV shows, start looking at how all those literary devices start playing a role. I want to make sure that you're able to get someone's attention, keep it, and be memorable. And that starts with what? Being okay with having attention on you. Because like the extended conversation, you have something really important to say that someone must listen to you about. Okay, so now, congratulations, we have figured this out. And anything I do in this class, or ask you to do, I want you to ask why. Why ultimately will be the question that will separate the good from the great and the super from the spectacular. Okay? Now about the can versus the can'ts. I'll just say this, because I'm still in the process of trying to motivate all of you, as well as a lot of you are doing. I know you can still have that extra and push, and that's what I'm always trying to go for here. Battle ready number of 100, 999.6. So, all right, pay attention to this one. And I'm actually gonna kneel down over here so I can get closer to the mic, and hopefully, you know, this is a better difference for the sound quality. Okay, so everyone, I wanted to think for a moment of all the things that you're willing to pay someone for to do for you. Okay, so I'll give you an example. If you ever paid for an Uber driver before, that's because at that particular moment in time, you think they'll be doing a better job driving than you would. If you ever went to a store such as Chipotle before, then essentially what you're saying is, hey man, you can make food better than I can at this moment in time, so I'm willing to pay you for it. And of course, same thing, if you got a haircut before, essentially what you're saying is, you can cut my hair better than me at this point in time right now, so I'm going to pay you to cut it. Now, last but not least, you know, there are some kids, of course, you know, not you, but you know, there are some kids who might say, hey, you know, I'll give you $200 and you write my essay for my term paper, because at this point in time, I think you will do a better job than me, so I'm going to pay you for it. Well, let me ask you a question. How often in your life do you actually pay someone to speak for you? Crickets and silence, right? The only time that I can really think about is perhaps if you need a lawyer, then you do it, or if you need a translator. In all other points and times, you have to speak for yourself, am I right? You can't forge it. Yeah, someone can write your paper for you and someone can take the SAT for you, but if you have to speak, no one can speak in place of you. And that's why it's so critical that you do your best to apply yourself and learn the skill of public speaking and communication, because you can't pay people to speak for you, because it just doesn't happen that way. Now you might go to a band and the band will play music and then it creates a romantic mood, and then you can ask your fiance to marry you, sure. But I'm sure the will you marry me should come from your words and not someone else's, right? Okay, so that's the serious part of what I wanted to talk to you about in regards to, well, everyone can drive, well, everyone can cook, and even everyone can breathe. Not everyone can drive like a 5-star limousine driver, or cook like a chef, or breathe like a yoga instructor. And so people will pay them for it because they do it better. It's the same concept with speaking. If you can speak better, you get paid more to be able to do it. Managers speak more than regular employees. Coaches, you know, do it more than players, so on and so forth, okay? So I wanted to have you run by that. And over here, I don't know if it's being washed out with the light, but snakes. I have a great fear of snakes. I can give you the whole story behind it, but maybe this video is already running a lot longer than I expected. So I'll just say this, I have a big fear of snakes. But luckily, no one really says, you know, I don't want to be a friend because you have fear of snakes. But when it comes to speaking, a lot of people might say, you know, I don't want to be a friend because I don't like the way you speak. Maybe not because you're mean, but you're just inarticulate and dry and not funny. Or maybe you're rude. Or maybe people just can't understand you, right? I have a fear of snakes, but luckily it doesn't hurt me from being promoted. If you don't speak well, you might not get promoted. And, you know, I can actively avoid my fear of snakes for the most part, but people cannot actively avoid their fear of public speaking without having an opportunity cost that's going to hurt them somehow, personally or professionally. Okay, so please keep that in mind. The only way that snakes are really hurting me is if I want to become a snake handler, for instance. But regardless of whatever job you're aiming for, communication is going to be a big part of it. And I can tell you for sure that the better you communicate, the more confidence you're going to have. And it applies to all parts of your life. So that's my little part of some motivations for all of you. To wrap it up for the introduction speech, because that's what we just finished, I just wanted to say the following. Your recommendation letters, your referrals, and your references, that's all introductions. The person who's giving you the reference or referral or the recommendation letter know you better than the person that might hire you, and so they have to introduce you better. And if they cannot introduce you well, then it hurts your chances of being able to get what you want. And so I wrote the word independence of introductions. Think about all the people in the future that you're going to have to introduce that's going to be dependent on you. Your parents, when you're going to have to introduce them to new doctors. Your kids one day, when you have to introduce them to other friends and you want to assimilate them. The older you get, the more people also depend on your quality of speech. And I just wanted to point that all out for all of you as we continue to move forward. Okay. Lastly, in terms of introductions, right, it's really important because as you continue to go through life, you probably start to realize that the number one and number two question that most strangers are going to ask you is, number one, so what do you do? Right? And that's why you're in school right now, because you want a better answer to that question. When people ask you, what do you do? And that starts the introduction phase. So you want to be in a position where you're proud of what you do and you're happy with it, because you're going to be asked that a billion times. And secondly, when they finish asking you what you do, essentially they're going to ask you, so what do you do when you're not doing what you do? AKA, what do you do in your free time? And you want to make sure that your job doesn't control you, because then you're not going to be able to do anything when you're not working, because you might always be working, or you might be so tired from working that you can't get a chance to do what you actually really want to do. Okay, so in terms of introductions, just know most people are going to be asking, what do you do and what do you do when you're not doing what you do? And if you have a better ability to control your speech, you can control the narrative a whole lot better. So that essentially takes up my entire boards for this section. And moving forward, I will create the exercises for you that will be due Friday, and also give you the next topic for the demonstration speech. The workbook is already in the St. John's bookstore, so please order them up as soon as possible. I'm going to start in the next video giving you some exercises so you can work on them in advance, and also the demonstration speech will prepare you for that. Then you'll be able to start training yourselves 13 minutes a day and start getting better and better really, really quickly. Okay, so congratulations for all of you finishing Speech Battle 1. You'll get your grades back soon, and I'll give you some comments on that too. All right, great. So again, this video is just a reminder to finish the work that you may not have done already, to start your training and to really get into who you want to become as the semester goes through. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night.